So let me just put something in our minds real quick. A friend of mine, some of you were at the graduate or the confirmation mass on Friday, I know, and it came to mind at the end of the mass. So there's a guy down in Ohio. His name is John Wood. He actually came and spoke to our Wednesday prayer breakfast, I want to say 3 years ago or so. So he's got this great book called Ordinary Lives, Extraordinary Mission, I think. He's got these wristbands that just say, "Be a saint." And he goes around the country speaking and talking to both to kids and to parents, both. And he has a new book that's going to come out in the spring, I think it is, maybe the fall. And it's simply entitled, "Keeping the Flame of Faith Alive." And it's written to parents. And it comes from this little thing, which all of you had handed to you on the day that your son or daughter or sons and daughters were baptized. And either the deacon or the priest handed you this little candle, which they lit from the Easter candle. Sometimes they had to climb up on a ladder to do it, but that's all right. And as they handed it to you, this is what they said: "Receive the light of Christ." Parents and godparents, this light is entrusted to you to be kept burning brightly. See that the flame of faith is kept safe in his or her heart. Your child has been enlightened by Christ. He or she is to walk always as a child of the light. And when the Lord comes, may he or she go out to meet him with all the saints in the heavenly kingdom. And I keep thinking of this image, because a candle and a flame, right, is really delicate. Just watch our servers, and you should see them back there before they walk in for Mass, how many times the candle goes out. Just a misplaced breath, and it's gone. Or walking too fast, and it's gone. Then they have to go relight it, and then they do it again, and they do it again. Some of these kids do it 5-6 times before we walk into Mass. So the task of parenthood, right, is, and you know this so well, I'm not saying anything you don't know, is to kind of cup the flame, to guard it, to do everything that you can in the midst of a culture which is trying to do this. Like all day, all night. And so you're there doing everything to protect it. And we want to talk to you about ways in which we want to try to help you to do that. That's really the gist of tonight, because this is one hand protecting the flame, but all of a sudden you got 2 hands, you got 4 hands, you build a wall around it. And now the wind can blow as strong as it wants, and it's not going to be able to do anything to the flame. And so by you partnering with other people, the experience of moving into a new community, we've all had this, right? It's like, does anybody here think like us? Can we find any place where we can bring our kids, or we can entrust them? And then you find them, it's like, there's another hand to protect the flame. Thank you, Lord. So we want to continue to help connect you with each other and to do our part in trying to strengthen that. Some of you had children who made first communions and first reconciliations this year, and I shared a little bit of this, but I go back to it a lot just because I found it to be so enlightening myself. But I had a chance to be at a conference last fall at the University of Notre Dame. It was entitled Reclaiming the Christian Imagination. And it was talking about, at one point anyway, the simple question, who are the most significant pastors, or who are the real pastors of children? And the answer emphatically is you. Again, we know this, I think, and yet maybe sometimes we're not so sure, either because of how we see parenthood presented or because, painful as it can be, we hear our children say things to us. I look back in just like utter shame at some of the things I said to my mom and dad when I was a teenager. And I'm thinking, how did God just not smite me, when I said that? And I can't even imagine the heartache that I caused my dad or my mom. You know that heartache, most of you. Those of you not with teenagers yet, you're going to. And so that can be beyond discouraging, right? You just kind of lose heart. I remember hearing somebody say once, you never get back what you put into your children. How do they possibly know the investment that you have made in them? We're not talking at all about finances, right? Time, energy, passion, emotion, all the ways that you have cared for, nurtured them. It is on so many levels, right? A vocation which is truly thankless. Your honor and praise comes from seeing them become, perhaps, what you would like them to become, but that doesn't always happen, right? But hopefully it will all come for us at the end when we get home, and please God, God will bring us all home and we'll see one another as He intended us to be. So I say that because, aware of the discouragement that we can feel, let me share a couple of these things from the research that's been done over the past number of years to just kind of like, how that Father John's out for a bike ride right now. He always just inflates his tires before he goes out, right? He's got bad tires, they leak like crazy, but they're a lot like our hearts. They just kind of leak, right? An event happens and you kind of lose heart. And so again, we want to pump up your hearts with truth that we can find statistically in terms of data, and with truth from the gospel. So here's what the conference says. The actors in the lives of American teenagers that have the greatest influence on the religious and spiritual lives of those children is hands down pastors or parents. They set a kind of glass ceiling above which their children will rarely rise religiously. Most parents don't know this. They just don't realize it. For all these reasons that the cultural script kind of reads us or dictates to us, countless parents, not us of course, the people who didn't come tonight, right? They think their kids think they're stupid. Because we hear it. You're so dumb, Dad. You're so out of touch. But it's not true. Regardless of what they're saying, when these same kids are interviewed, questioned, studied, they don't say that at all. So the cultural script says that the parent's influence recedes when a child becomes a teenager, but the data doesn't. So just focusing on 16, 17-year-olds from Notre Dame, the factors that made the difference for those who declined or who grew or stayed steady with regards to the faith, it was hands down parents, and there's not a close second. And the most important factors are really simple. It's not, the ability to quote the catechism. It's not the ability to give really good, solid, sound theological answers. It's two things. Go to church and talk about the faith at home. Like establish a home where what what used to be said about Pope John Paul II's house when he was a child growing up. There was the normalcy of faith. That was my house growing up. There was just the normalcy of faith. There was everything from simple religious art in our house to open prayers to conversation about the Lord all the time. Even in the midst of talking about work and sports and school and all the other things, like God was just clearly a visible part of our family life. Those two things, talking about faith in the home and going to church, they really are the game changers. They're the difference makers. Kids tend to drift from the faith for two reasons. These are really worth noting, and I think they're really important for us as Catholics, because I say all the time, and I'm increasingly aware of it in talking to kids who come home from college after the first year. They either drift because they think the faith is vacuous or implausible. So the challenge, as we've talked about on a lot of different occasions, Catholicism is an adult faith. It invites and demands thinking, like careful thinking. That's why some of us in here are converts to the faith. Most of the best Catholics tend to be converts. Best, by that I mean, like I know the faith. I've made the effort to learn the faith. Because in my case anyway, like I had to come back to it. I went to a Catholic school from K through 12. I have no idea what I learned. It was a class. And then all of a sudden, as an adult, I have to dive into this, and I'm engaged, I'm learning. It's kind of like that same decision you make when you're in college and you decide what your major is, and you're like, okay, I want to do that. Now you pour yourself into something that you know is going to be profitable and useful. So kids either are told really simplistic answers for so long, and then they just kind of go, this is just stupid, and they walk away, or it's just vacuous, it's empty. There's three things parents can't do. Can't fake belief. You know that, children will sniff it out. You can't outsource it to others. You can't hand them to a Catholic school and go, you do it. Because everything they're going to get at the Catholic school needs to happen at home, or else the kids are going to start asking questions like, how come we don't do that? Or how come we do that? Can't outsource it to a religious ed program. So we can't take places, we can only cooperate. And you can't fail to model authenticity. So 4 things that make really effective Catholic parents, according to the study that was done there, these are really simple. Faith is an important part of the parent's own journey, so they're authentic. They exercise conscious reflection on their religious aspirations for their children. So like a friend of mine, his mom and dad, when he was a kid, every night his parents would pray with him, and they would just pray, Lord, help, little Johnny come to know his vocation. Just that simple prayer paid huge dividends in his life and his brother's life. His brother's married, he's a priest. But just by kind of presenting to their children, like we're praying for you and with you that the Lord will make known to you what your vocation is. That's an example of conscious reflection. They surround the kids with consistent Catholic content. So we live the same way. We strive to anyway, whether we're on the lacrosse field, whether we're on a volleyball court, whether we're in church, whether we're in the market, whether we're in a movie theater, whether we're out to dinner. There's a consistency to our lives. And then lastly, they're just effective communicators, not because, again, they can quote the catechism. They're just comfortable talking about the Lord with their children because they realize that their children are a gift from Him. The Lord's given them this, and they've come to understand the greatest gift we can give to our children is to lead them to the person of Jesus. I can't make that decision for them, but I want to lead them to Him. So those are some of the things from this study which I found to be really encouraging and uplifting. With that in mind, that's why we come up with this title, You Matter. Like, keep hearing that over and over again from God, not from us, from God. You matter. Your role is so strong, so powerful, so important. Don't get discouraged. It's the tactic of the devil. Whether you're a mom, a dad, or a priest, his tactic is to discourage. No one's listening. All that work that you've done, it's not paying off. They're never going to come back. All those things are lies. Just don't listen to them. Keep hearing this. This is the Lord to us going, you matter. You matter so much that I've chosen to do that for you. And you matter so much that even though you may not see the fruit right now, what you're doing is continuing to plant seeds and to water the seeds, okay? So Sandy, I wonder if we can just jump to some of the Archbishop's comments. Did we send a link out? It's on our website, I know. So some of you know, some of you don't, but now you all do. This past Saturday night, Archbishop Vigneron published, it's about a 40 or so page pastoral letter on the direction of the Archdiocese for the next 5 years, at least. It's extraordinary. It is the marching orders for the Archdiocese, and it's our marching orders as a parish. It touches on a whole host of things that he's calling us to do, challenging us to do, and in some cases mandating us to do. Talks about, he describes it actually as a tectonic shift in the Archdiocese of Detroit. Business as usual is over. We need a new way of envisioning parish life, everything from our structures in a parish to getting greater clarity about the purpose of things like CYO, to getting greater clarity about the purpose of Catholic schools, to getting greater clarity about the importance on hospitality in a parish setting, because a church exists not primarily for the sake of its members, but for the sake of those who do not yet belong to us, because God's desire is to get them in. So those little people at the door with the signs that say welcome, like, they really matter. Because we want the person walking into the church who just mustered up the courage to step through the threshold for the first time in years, and the last experience was a horrific memory, to be greeted with a smile and we're glad you're here. That alone can be the difference for someone coming back to faith or making another decision to just bolt the door. So these and so many other things he talks about. And he talks very directly about parents and families. Since catechizing children has little effect if parents themselves are not living as disciples of Jesus, this is why we're going to have 6 sessions of Alpha in homes starting in the fall for school and after-school parents. It's specifically for parents who, as I once was, away from the church. Show up once in a while, but for whatever reason, life got busy, God got eclipsed, whatever, he got marginalized. So we're trying to do some things to invite people in. Parishes must look for ways to make catechesis and sacramental preparation family-based, helping parents to grow in discipleship so that they can then form their children. That's really what tonight's about. That's the plan and the program that Anne's going to roll out to you. We want to highlight what the Archbishop says in this letter, because this ties in with exactly what we're asking of you as well. So he has these action steps to families. I charge families, he says, to commit to reclaiming their identity in relationship to God. And the first thing that he says is the real starting point, we think, for all of our families. And I say this to you because you're the choir, that's why you're here, right? But you got friends who aren't here. And your influence on them is so strong. and so encouraging when it's done in charity, in joy, in an invitation kind of factor or a fashion. The single most important thing that everybody can and quite frankly just needs to do in order to keep the flame of faith burning is Sunday becomes non-negotiable. Just take it back. It doesn't belong to sports. It doesn't belong to dance. It doesn't belong to skating. It doesn't belong to anyone but God. Take it back. The single most important thing you can do with your children is bring them here. Everything else can be done after. So he charges families. That's the strongest language that he gets. So like he charges priests to commit to pray every day. So lest you think, families are getting singled out, he's got to charge priests to pray, okay? So priests pray, parents come to Mass. Like, take it back. Forget about having this massive, comprehensive plan for sanctity today. Let's just do one thing well. Come to Mass. If every single one of our parents in the school and the after school would do that one thing this year, our whole school community would be different. Our whole after school community would be different. Our parish would be different if we all committed to come to Mass every Sunday and stop breaking the first commandment, because it's not just the third. We'd be different. It would be stunning. Our children would be calmer. They'd be more peaceful. Like, I dare you, if you're one of the people who's here who maybe we don't come every Sunday, I dare you, try it for 3 months and see if it's not different. I just don't think it can't happen. So attend families of Mass, or attend Mass as a family. Second thing, so these are, if I've already got that in place, great. Let's see if I got this one in place. If I don't have that in place, let's let that be the goal, right? Let's just get to Mass every week. We build our weekend around being together with the Lord. Because either Jesus was lying or he was telling the truth when he said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. And I don't think Jesus lies. Commit to forming your family in the love and the power of sacred Scripture by placing it at the center of your family life. Now that can sound really, like, I don't even have a clue how to do that. Here's how you do it. Sunday night at dinner, you talk about the gospel and the homily. Or Friday night or Saturday night, whatever, or Sunday on the way to Mass, you read the gospel in the car. Rather than listen to the radio, let's read the gospel. Let's prepare ourselves to hear it. Because you know better than me, once you get into this place, it's anything but calm for some of you. You're running around trying to, where'd they go? There was a gospel? I didn't realize there was a gospel today. Wow. So don't get intimidated by that. Create time for regular family meals without distraction to reclaim its sacred nature. For some of us, it might start with, how about one? Unless you think this is just you, like Father Prentice and I are trying to figure out, how do we get a regular family meal? Because we're all imitating this insane life where we're just running around, passing each other. Hey, how's your day? Great, good. Talk to you next week, right? Sure, good. Okay, where are you going? Soccer game. Okay, lovely. And we're never together. But the payoff of a family meal, if I got none, let's do one. If I got one, let's do two. Commit to developing family prayer time. This again can look intimidating. So if I'm doing the first three, try to do this. What's it look like? Maybe it's just, if we're one of those families that doesn't say grace, we're going to say grace. If we're one of those families that says grace and we say, bless us, O Lord, in these thy gifts, we're going to stop saying that and we're going to actually just pray from the heart. If we already do that, maybe we're going to add something else. Maybe we're going to make it a point with our younger children to pray with them in their beds or on their knees at the feet of their bed before they go to bed. And we're going to want them to hear us praying out loud. maybe we're just going to make a little space in our homes, just a little space. Maybe it's just a crucifix and an icon or a painting where the Lord is kind of enthroned, so that the kids see there's something in our homes which sets this place apart. There's lots of different creative ways to do this, right? Could be the rosary, whatever. Fifth, reclaim the sacrament of reconciliation as a lived reality in your home. I say this all the time now, but a couple years ago when we were here in First Confessions, I'm sitting over there by the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and every time a parent would bring their child to me, I'd sit there, and then they'd walk back and they'd sit here and they'd look at me, and half of them were crying. And I don't think they were crying because they couldn't believe that their children were that old. I think they were crying because they long to be there, because it's been so long. Confessions become, for a lot of parents, something that we bring our children to, and then we sit and we watch, and then we bring them home. But we're gonna create some settings this year where we're gonna do real family penance services. Because when your children see you go to confession, like when I see priests go to confession, it just inspires me. When I see a bishop go to confession, it inspires me. When your children see you go to confession, it inspires them. It helps them normalize this. Create a home where your family models Christ's love. Become aware of your neighbor's needs. Reach out to them with a welcoming spirit so as to share your faith. Maybe the way I would put this, see your home as a place that God gives you to invite other families in, where you guys can talk about what God's doing in your lives, and where your children can hear it and see it. My mom ran a Bible study in our basement when I was a kid. My mom and dad had priests over all the time when I was a kid. They had gatherings of different kinds all the time when I was a kid. We were outside in the pool, we were playing basketball, we were playing volleyball, we were doing all sorts of things, but at a certain point we came in and Dad turned the conversation to Jesus. And it was all just really healthy and really attractive. It looked normal. I think that's it, isn't it? Oh, one more. Be the primary witnesses of the faith to your family. Because your role's irreplaceable, because you matter. So this is the Archbishop's challenge to families and his challenge to us as a parish and how to work with you. I'm going to ask Ann to talk a little bit about what this is going to look like for us going forward. Okay? Great. Thanks, everybody.
So I love that the image of protecting the flame, and and looking at sacramental readiness. That's what this slide is, and it's also in your pamphlet. And that's really what we want you to do. What we want to do, what Sandy and I want to do in our office, is help you to protect that flame. And Father John was talking about the pastoral letter, and a couple of things that they comment on, or that the Archbishop comments on, is the fact that you need support in this. I am a mother of 4 children. My youngest is now 17. I can't believe it. But I once was the parent at Mass who didn't remember what the gospel was, but we went to Mass, right? And we need support. You do. So when we talk about sacramental readiness, how many families had a child receive a sacrament this year? Can you just raise your hands? A lot of you. If your children are older, they did receive the sacraments. So you know that we're sending communications home to you, we're supporting you, we're reminding you, we're telling you that you're the primary catechist of your children. And some of you understand that, some of you don't, some of you are gaining an understanding of that. So we're going to, in sacramental readiness, we're going to work with you on that. So sacramental readiness, we're becoming more intentional. Sandy and I have prayed a lot about this in our preparation for this. And we're going to be intentional. And so we're putting some things in place to support you and to help you protect that flame. So sacramental readiness will begin the year before the sacrament is received. So that would be first grade for our First Communion, First Reconciliation students. And this year it will be fifth grade, because we are going to be confirming in the sixth grade. We'll be talking more about that. So why does it start the year before? Well, for a couple reasons. First of all, we are lifelong learners. Okay? What you learn in first grade helps and informs what you learn in second grade. Third and fourth grade lead up to fifth grade, and fifth grade certainly informs what you learn for sixth grade for confirmation. So because of that, we're going to be sending out the year before, and this part is the part in red up there. We're going to be sending a letter out to you. This letter is meant to do a couple of things. First of all, as Father John was talking about, it will encourage and it'll empower you. It'll remind you that you're the primary influence in the faith life of your children. And then it's going to inform you. It's going to give you a heads up of what to expect the next year. Then the next part is at the beginning of the sacramental year. So this would be second and sixth grade. You're going to be given another letter. This one is a little bit different. It's going to include the 4 things that Father John talked about, the 4 things that are highlighted in your pamphlet, the way to live faith excellently, that's going to Mass, praying as a family, talking about the faith, going to confession. So in this, there's going to be at the bottom a place where you can send in something like a commitment card, like we did during rerouting. We're going to have you read this letter, and as parents, prayerfully discern, are we ready to do these 4 things? Are we doing these 4 things? Some people are doing 1, maybe they're going to Mass. They're going to Mass every week. They got that one down. But maybe they're not praying every day with their family. Maybe they're not having that family meal. Maybe you're doing the prayer and you're talking as a family. You're going to Mass, but man, I haven't been to reconciliation in a long time. Or maybe you're finding that you need help with all 4 of these things. So this is a time to really prayerfully discern as parents again. And then with the child that is receiving the sacrament and with your whole family, because we have talked about this, that receiving the sacrament is a family event. And those of you this year, especially if you receive both sacraments this year, confirmation, First Reconciliation, First Communion, you know that it is a family event. The whole family is celebrating. So prayerfully discern, discuss with your child, and decide, are you ready? Are you ready to make the commitment to work towards making these 4 things a priority? And be really honest about that. And when you are, parent will sign, child will sign, and then you'll send it in to the religious formation office. So this isn't a way to embarrass anybody. This isn't a way to put anybody else on a pedestal. This is a way to really discern in your heart, are you ready to make that commitment? And ready to work towards making that commitment. So let's say you're not ready. You're not ready to turn in that card. That's okay. Sandy, that'll inform us who needs help, because we don't know how to help you if we don't know that you need help, that you need support. And again, that's part of what the Archbishop is calling us to do. So that's the beginning of the sacramental year. During the year, it's the same programming pretty much that we've had, plus a couple of things. We're going to be going over that in more detail later. Sandy's going to highlight those things. We have our parent meetings, which, if you haven't been to one, it's not much about the dates and the times. You get that information, but we try to take as much time as we can to support the parents again and to inform and to form. All the experiential, the rich retreats that we hold for our sacraments, the candidate sponsor day, and then new this year, we're going to be having some family service opportunities and some family formation events. Sandy's going to be going over those in just a moment. So this is part of, in the Archbishop's pastoral letter, I'm going to the blue part now. So now we're talking about let's meet. We're called to go beyond the building of the parish office, beyond the walls of the church, and meet with you face to face. We've had several home visits in the last couple years. We have learned a lot from you, from going into your homes. Great ideas that you have, things that we need to do better, and a lot of questions have been answered. So we're building relationship, and that's something else that the Archbishop is calling us to do. So we're finding ways to get more FaceTime with you. Not on email, not over the phone, but to go out and meet you where you're at. This year for second grade, we're adding a mid-year checkpoint. This is when the parent and child meet with a member of the religious formation team, maybe one of our OLGC school teachers, maybe one of our catechists, some of our pastoral team. Very similar in format as our confirmation interviews. Some of the questions we might ask: how's it going? How's the programming working for your family? What resources do you need? And we will come to you. If you cannot come to us for these mid-year checkpoints, we will come to your home and meet with you, Sandy or I or one of the pastoral team or, maybe one of the catechists. So the benefits of this: again, it informs us on where we need to shore up programming and resources. But it also has another benefit. Those of you who have confirmation students, either in the past or presently, the single most stressful thing for your kids is the confirmation interview. Yes? Yeah. I'm seeing some heads nodding. So this is going to model for them what is that interview going to look like. They're going to be with their parents, so it'll be in a safe environment. It's going to model talking about the faith with their parents, but then it's also going to prepare them for when they have their interview for confirmation. They'll be able to look back on this and say, okay, I did that once. I can do it again. Okay? So those are the couple reasons why we're adding that as a mid-year checkpoint. I think the next step here is we're going to start talking about confirmation, Father John. So I think you're up next to talk about the changes in the confirmation program. Thank you.
We had a chance to meet with the Archbishop a couple of months ago now to present the findings from what we've gone through based on feedback that we've gotten from parents, from catechists, from teachers, and from the kids themselves, and then just our own experience. So our experience and the feedback that we've gotten from parents and catechists pretty strongly encourages us to suggest confession or confirmation in 6th grade. The maturity level between 5th and 6th graders is remarkably different. on one hand, generally speaking, and the level of materials or the amount of material that's out there for sixth graders versus for fifth graders is also noticeably different. It's just much more significant. So starting this, so we went to the Archbishop. He was funny. I said, so based on all we're going to do, it looks like we should confirm in sixth grade. He says, great. I said, can we do that next year? He says, yeah, who are you going to confirm? I went, oh yeah, that's right. Like, we don't have any sixth graders who need a confirmation. So came back, we talked with Sandy and Ann. We have a few, right, who either they move into the community or for whatever reason just didn't get confirmed this year. So we'll have a very small confirmation class this year. Last week we had 160 or so. Next year we'll probably have 20 or so. But that's fine. It'll make up for the last few years and the length of the liturgies. So this coming year, we'll a small confirmation class, 6th through 8th graders who are quote unquote behind in the reception of the sacraments. It'll give us time to develop a curriculum across the 5th and 6th grades in collaboration with the school and the after-school catechists. It'll also give the new youth minister time to develop programming for 6th grades and high school. So stay tuned, there's a lot more on that. And then after 2017-18, we'll give our report back to the Archbishop, and presumably in 2018 and 19, the 6th graders will be confirmed, just kind of going forward from that. When you read the pastoral letter, one of the items in the letter is a call for the diocese to have just an honest discussion as to the best age and the best forum for confirmation. So what we're doing has been something of a help for the Archbishop in discerning this question. There are some other parishes that have been experimenting with 6th grade confirmation, and he's taken all the input that we're giving him, and it's been very helpful for him. But it's on his radar, and it's on the radar of his Episcopal, the bishop's advisors, and his priest council as well. So what we've been doing is something the Archdiocese is going to look at in a much broader way. So for now, that's what it's going to look like next year, is in 6th grade and not in 5th. And with that, I think, are you coming back up? I think Sandy's going to talk a little bit about these programs that we've got to really partner with you, to walk with you, to continue just to support you as best we can, starting in the fall of this year.
So we're going to be looking at the inside of your booklet. So that center page, and then the one to the right with connect highlighted up at the top. So we're just going to walk down each one of those center highlighted programs and speak to those. So first is the after-school program. So for the years that my children went to Our Lady of Good Counsel, for many of those I had no idea that on 2 evenings during the week, there were a whole bunch of kids showing up to learn about religion. So it took a while for me to learn that the school becomes yet another school on those evenings. So the after-school program will be focused on grades 1 through 5, and those are going to be the families who choose that program to send their children to, and that will be offered on Tuesday nights. Then our new program, we're going to talk more about that. We're so excited to be offering Connect. And it's a program that will be family-based and family-centered. So I'll come back and talk more about that in a little bit. Next on your lineup there is Catechesis of the Good Shepherd. Catechesis of the Good Shepherd is, as Archbishop called it, I think at one point, graced. It's all about encounter. It's Montessori-based. It's a very hands-on way to teach children about our Good Shepherd, right? Christ, our Good Shepherd. So we're thrilled next year, we're going to be offering Level 1 Catechesis of the Good Shepherd in the school. Joe Jeffrey and I are right now collaborating on making that possible for the school. And then for those in the after-school program or in religious formation, they'll have the option to choose Catechesis of the Good Shepherd for Level 1, grades preschool and kindergarten, or level 2 for grades 1, 2, and 3. And so this is a result and one of the results of the coming expansion. So as you look out the back of our beautiful church, and as you look towards the back of the structure, there will be 3 atriums there. So this is a program, again, that's full of grace, full of encounter, hands-on, and it is other than. It's a place of quiet, of few words, and all about our children nurturing that relationship that they have with the Lord. And many of you that came to our second grade retreats experienced the altar presentation. And I know with the smiles on the faces I'm seeing out there, it was just a lovely experience for all of you. So we just feel very blessed to be offering this option for families now in a broader way this coming fall. Then Liturgy of the Word is next. So that's for grades 1 and 2. And many of you that come to our 10 o'clock Mass, I'm sure some of your children have gone away during the gospel and they learn about what the gospel is and they do activities related to that. That program will keep going in the future and we're pleased to offer that during the 10 o'clock Mass again. Then Becoming Catholic. So that's for children who are, for lack of a better word, behind in reception of the sacrament, some of which have not been baptized. So we have a special catechist that teaches that every year. Every year we've had 6 or 8, sometimes 12 students that we've taught who've come into the church at our Easter Vigil. So that's what Becoming Catholic is all about there. Then our homeschool. So we offer that for families who can't choose school or can't choose after school. Their lives may be a very hectic state in a lot of unique circumstances. So we do offer a homeschool program for families. And then Anne mentioned our home visits. So she touched on how next year in a special way, as Archbishop has called us out, we do want to come out to you. And like Anne said, we've had several home visits this past year. They've been very fruitful. We have prayed with families and their children. We've talked about some of their challenges in learning the material. And we've given them some great ideas to living out the faith at home. So that's been one great way that we've offered support to you, parents as primary catechists of your children. So next year we want to offer it to all families. And then youth ministry. So I would like to ask for your prayers at this time, and I know Father John would appreciate them as well. We're in the process of interviewing for our ministry position. We have some wonderful candidates in place, but we'll be discerning that soon, and hopefully our good Lord will bring us the right person for our parish and for all our families. So let's look at the next page then, the Connect page that you see there. So just a little bit of history for all of you. So several years ago, some of you may have participated in our family program. We offered it for several years, but we found it really wasn't meeting the needs of our parents, the children, and our families. So we took it off the offering. And we thought in 2015 we would just spend a year and bring it back. But actually it needed much more care, much more guidance, and much more discernment. And so now that Archbishop has given us all our marching orders, as Father John has said, in a special way to reach out for families, it's so timely that now we are offering this family-centered program. So like it says in your booklet, Connect is going to be all about connecting families with other families, connecting the gospel to your daily life, connecting children with other children, connecting the lessons at home, right? And hopefully really connecting then the way to live out the faith in a very beautiful way and a great way to connect us to you and to support you. So that's what Connect is all about. We also will have 5 family events offered throughout the year. Those will be offered to all families, whether you're in the school, whether you're in the after school, or whatever program you're in, and we're thrilled. So more information on that will be coming, and registration will be coming soon as well. So who will be good candidates, or who will look at Connect as an option for their family? So these are going to be families that want to be in fellowship with other families, want to have this opportunity to meet and to talk with other families and parents. Those that really can commit to digging in and teaching the faith at home when we aren't meeting during those once-a-month sessions, right? And these are going to be, this option is going to be for families who really want to ignite their faith at home in a more powerful way. So when are we going to offer this? So we're going to offer it on Wednesday evenings. Just like tonight we had Mass and now we're here together. This program will be once a month from 6:45 to 8:15. We're very pleased to offer childcare as well, making it possible for many families to attend. So we'll be in the new facility, we'll be in the social hall, we'll be in different grade breakouts for the students. And then in the social hall, and this is new for us, our clergy will be teaching our parents. And so at these parent sessions, we strongly encourage and invite any parents to come in our programs and be at that parent session. We hope that evening will be very fruitful like Alpha has and discipleship groups has, with the small group connection, right? Small group discussion. So there'll be a brief lesson with our clergy. The lesson will tie in to what the students are learning with their catechists in their grade breakout groups. We'll have a Q&A time, and then we're going to offer parents resources and ways to teach those subjects at home with their children. So what's it going to look like at home? So we're going to offer all the families a syllabus. There'll be a sign-off sheet that everyone will initial, again, like Archbishop has called us to that accountability, that commitment to our faith. And then we'll be able to just continue to support you along the way. If there's anything after reading through all of this with all of you, this is more than just any program that we're offering, any more than sessions or offerings or programs. This is our commitment to journey with all of you year after year. Every year is important, right? And so we want to come to you, if possible, and meet you where you're at home. But we also want to say we are a phone call away as well, and we are committed to really supporting you as parents, teaching your children in the faith and igniting that faith at home, right? So at this time, I thought it might be good to open it up for any questions that you might have about anything that we've talked about tonight. Anne will come, or somebody will come with you with a microphone so that we can all hear it together. Thank you, Father.
I was really excited to see that Connect thing, but now I'm going, my 5th grader is going to be in 6th grade. So that part, I was concerned that she was getting lost in the cracks, because we had a very early coming into the church for her. Mm-hmm. They came in through the RCIA for kids. And so I wasn't sure from the letter, but it looks like here there is going to be a 6th grade / middle school thing for them. Yep. But it would be, I'm not just going to say you guys need to do this. I'd be willing to be a part of it. But I think it'd be great also, maybe after seeing how this Connect goes this year, to expand it to the next grade levels because I think there's a real need for that there as well.
Thanks,
So-
Audrey. Thanks. You brought up some good points. So, and Father may want to springboard off of this as well, but with our new youth ministers, so many of you are familiar with Edge and Life Teen. And with our new youth minister, we really pray that the right person is brought to our parish. And also, we're very open to the guidance of the Holy Spirit here as well. So with our 6th and 7th and 8th graders next year, our high school, we're hoping that if there are other resources, other ways, right, of forming our children in the faith, in a special way forming them as intentional disciples, we want to be open to the guidance of the Spirit, and we really want a youth minister who may seek out other resources to bring into the program to enrich it and to enliven it. Right? So stay tuned. I wish we had more information to give you at this time, but we really do want to bring in the right person for the position and then give our pastoral team and give our new youth minister this opportunity, right, to kind of think and reflect and discern what type of programming to offer in the fall.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
I'm really excited about the Connect program.
Great.
So my kids are going to be second graders next year. So they were in catechism last year, but how will that work with your 2-year program for? It said here. So there's going to be a year prior to the sacrament. So when they go for their first communion next year, will normal second graders take something different than what they went through this year as first graders?
Second graders won't be doing anything different,
Okay.
but Anne and I and our team talked about how we've never really reached out to the first grade families to let them know what's coming in their second grade year. So really that year before is going to be Ann and I reaching out to those families the year in advance of sacramental reception to let them know this is what's coming ahead, this is what will be expected, this is what we're going to be offering to you. And we've talked with several families and they really have taken, they've really been happy to hear that. So what we're hoping to do is to create a connection year after year with all of our families. Make sense? Okay.
So Sandy, do I understand this right, that there will be no Life Teen and no Edge next year? You're going to wait to determine what the youth minister is going to want to do?
That's incorrect.
Oh, okay.
So next year we'll have programming for 6th, 7th, 8th, and high school as well. We are going to have programming for that, so I don't want that misunderstood. We are going to have youth programming next year, but exactly the dates and exactly the outlines of the curriculum, we don't have that as yet. Make sense?
Yeah, so I guess that means that it could be Life Teen or it could be Edge, but it could be not.
Could be Life Teen, could be Edge. I guess we don't necessarily want to be married to those names. I think that spells it correctly.
Anyone else? Yeah, of course you're way over there.
This year, you sent out a survey monkey, I believe it was, for teaching human sexuality to our kids, or what the input from parents. Have you collected that information or sort of gotten any, census from it? And would that information be put into any family program or, catechism for the kids?
That's a great question. So we gathered all of your responses to that human sexuality survey. And so part of bringing Dr. Tim Hogan, so we had a late night with Father John and Dr. Tim Hogan. So part of that was brought into that evening, your concerns. I have a complete copy of the survey. If any of you want to see the responses, you're welcome to see it. Next year, we're going to have another late night with Father John, and we're going to
Right? 3 of them?
we have 2 planned so far. Yeah. We're going to bring Dr. Tim Hogan back again, and then I think Father John has another person planned to join us in September. So these late night with Father John and these sessions in which we talk about those very topics that were surveyed, those have been great formats for us, at least to get the parents informed and being encouraged to have these conversations. So we're going to continue to offer programming that speaks to the very responses to the surveys that you all filled out. And again, we're happy to give you a copy of those responses if you'd like to see them.
And that venue just works well. I mean, we were talking earlier today. I mean, one of the reasons it works is there's food. And I don't mean that to be humorous. I mean, if I walk into a thing and there's chairs set up, I have a lecture feel, right? But these late nights that we've done have been just kind of a blast. So, there's beer and wine and food. And it just lends itself to relaxing, putting ourselves just emotionally and psychologically in a different space where I'm like, all right, I want to talk to the people at the table. And then Tim Hogan's just kind of a stitch to begin with. And this woman that we got coming in September is going to be equally as dynamic. So those of you who were there, please spread the word. We'd like to just keep getting as many people as we can to these because it's a really informal but formative way to pass on really helpful information. And for you to see each other and go, oh, you're here. Awesome. I didn't know this mattered to you. Because again, the more we make connections with other couples that this is significant for them, the less we feel alone, right? Our whole plan here was let's try to come up with, let's just scrap everything and come up with something from scratch that can meet 21st century parents and families' lives, given the things that we know you're dealing with. And obviously for Ann and Sandy, it's what they're dealing with too. So I'm really grateful to both of you for the effort, the love that you've put into this. And we're excited about what's coming. So keep it in prayer, please. Just like Sandy said, please keep our decision in mind for the principal and for the youth minister, that the Lord will just put the right people in our hands. How about we just, let's stand and maybe just give glory to God real simply. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks, everybody, for your time. We're really grateful to have you. God bless.